Well, hello everyone. Good evening and welcome back. Thank you for stumbling across my video. Uh, if you haven't so already, I'd like to discuss about shortcomings. I was crashing out earlier today because of one thing and another. Mostly because just of the cognitive load that I had to take yesterday, planning some stuff and uh, having to decide a couple other stuff. But most of today was a mix of like physical shortcomings and also I wouldn't say character shortcomings, but also mental shortcomings. To be honest, lapse in judgment, lapse in memory, and not following through what I had set out to do in my theoretical checklist. But I think today was specifically a day where the ether was telling me that it's just so hard sometimes to stop and admit what shortcomings can do for us if left unchecked. There, I said it. So in this episode of Akasha through Yoga, I know I said it either, but the Akasha is transmitted through the ether to me. That's what I like to believe. So in this episode of Akasha through Yoga, I'd like to talk about owning our shortcomings in any way, shape, or form, because I've had to do that hard shadow work 10 years ago when I was still out of the country, still confused about myself, doing comparatively worse back then. You know, those bad habits still persist, but considerably manageable and, relatively top of mind compared to 10 years ago. 10 years ago was a mess, but anyway, I think that letting go of your ego to accept the shortcomings within you is considerably monumental to how I accepted myself, to accept the light that I have in myself, that allowed me to recognize it for what it is, and instead transform and transmute it to the light within me that I have to disseminate to the world. Most importantly, this video episode. And I think if I hadn't done the work of slowly owning my shortcomings back then, I wouldn't have reached a point in this year where I've been able to comfortably make videos like this on a regular cadence. Yeah, I'm just sort of self-introspecting here, but the point is, the Akasha rewards people, souls inside humans, to do the shadow work of letting the channeling of the knowledge and inspiration of the Akasha to go through. Once the shadow work within has risen and what do they say in English? The mist has cleared. Yeah, the fog has cleared. When the internal fog of your soul has cleared, and your own inner light can shine in a way that feels authentic to yourself the most, and that is where the Akasha is very. I wouldn't say very, but the impact the Akasha flow through us becomes very apparent, and this allows us to be present and also be active and also be conscious. Present, active, and conscious. You're being present by recognizing yourself, the world around you, the actions that you do or don't do, and the effect they have in the world. You're being present there. You're also being active by, again, like a byproduct of the presence. And you're also being conscious about everything that's happening to you in the world by being active. So it kind of is a threefold pattern. Right? You become present, you become active, and then you become conscious. And I say conscious not in a sort of thing that we imagine, but consciousness is just being, right? Say simply being. I can't simply explain this in language that we may be able to understand succinctly, but this whole level of consciousness is inextricably linked to consciousness of us and between other humans. That's what I wanted to say. My bad. And you know, it's been a fair share of my journey owning that shortcomings, those shortcomings, both in my interpersonal relationships with my family, but also my friends. I see them now for who the value that I receive from me, which the congruent value to be precise, because value can take up in many forms, like financial, material, but at the very least, the congruity of the values match to me and my beloved friends, and a bit more different my family, but that's another story. But the thing is, the more you own your shortcomings and do that as a start of this whole journey of finding yourself, again I will say, the more you do that, the more the fog lifts up, and the fog lifts up as a result of you doing your shadow work, and the light that is within you can start to shine outward because it has been allowed to shine inward, right? You become a mirror for others who see you for who you are. And if they see yourselves as a more positive and more uplifting, a more peaceful, and more joyful self, then it will be reflected onto them. And the converse also follows. It's a tale as old as time. Just need to be reminded of that, I guess, constantly. Because, to be honest, sometimes the world the world that we live in has its ways and has the means to make us distracted about what's really important. And I suppose my channel and my videos is just a tiny speck of what that great light work is meant to be. Yes, I suppose the light work is the permissible term to describe this kind of thing. However, you do get sometimes a bit introspective about what has actually happened in the moments leading up to this point, right? The moments, big and small, singular or relational, singular or like in groups, things that happen within groups, which I was a part of it. The more you look back, right, the more you realize it couldn't have gone in a better way than it had happened. English. And perhaps the what if still linger, but the decisions that were made, whether to any degree of conviction at that time, is exactly what made us own our shortcomings. Okay, that was a roundabout way of saying that the way we decide to own our shortcomings precisely becomes the way that we do the shadow work and work on work on disseminating our own light, right? That's the whole point. I'm not proud of the bad things that I have to do as a misjudgment to what I had to do and what it cost me, right? But then again, everyone else who's been in this journey would probably share similar sentiments to me. And that's okay. We're humans after all. We need reminders. We ultimately do the good work we were instructed and perhaps destined to do. I wouldn't say destined, but we set out to do, we decide to do. Like again, decisions to own our shortcomings or to mask them for something else entirely. And I choose to own my shortcomings every damn time, seeing that what it has brought me today. So I hope you can take this to your daily activities. I hope you have a wonderful night or day, whichever you are. May you always be filled with light and joy, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.